Welcome to How to Run Profitable Retreats. I am Leni Cavazos, retreat strategist and host of the show for coaches, entrepreneurs, and transformational leaders who want to design retreats that actually make money. If you've ever put your heart into a retreat only to walk away exhausted or worse, broke, you are not alone. This podcast is here to change that. Each week, I'll bring you stories, strategies, and expert insights to help you create meaningful, transformational retreats that also support your business, your lifestyle, and your bottom line. Let's make your next retreat not just powerful, but profitable. Hello, welcome back to another episode of How to Run Profitable Retreats. And I am your host, Leni Cavazos, and I'm so excited to be here today with Crystal Lynn. Yeah, she's the founder of Badass Butterfly Alchemy Coaching. So today we're going to be talking about alchemy in the space of creating a six-figure business. And Crystal is going to share a little bit about how she's built her amazing business as well, because she has a six-figure alchemy coaching certification, right? So you can do what she did. Isn't that awesome? Okay. I want to say that her programs are all about empowering spiritual women to turn their life experience into a thriving business. And then I'm super, super jealous. She's based in Paris for the last 3 years. So she gets to get all the croissants and pain au chocolat, or champagne, or oysters.
Beignet.
Yes. So she is based in Paris, but does not mean that you can connect with her because she has an online business. I think great. And really, she wants to help women rise into a powerful position to be paid leaders who serve with integrity, structure, purpose, and into prosperity. Yeah. So she takes people through the whole journey. Now, I do want to tell everyone here who's listening, just remember the name of this podcast, How to Run Profitable Retreats. This is one of the reasons when I met Crystal Lynn a little bit a while ago, a couple of weeks ago, actually, and we were having this conversation. I think we really clicked, and it was almost in a very soul level, right? It was not even just yes, we had a conversation and we just hit it off and it was great. But there was this whole piece behind the scenes of this energy, right? This core energy of leadership and alignment. And in the space of both of us wanting people to make more money, to run profitable business, to have prosperity, and to feel an integrity with their lives. So I was just like, Crystal, you have to be on my podcast. We need to be talking about this. So, Crystal, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to our podcast today.
Thank you so much, Leni. It's a pleasure. And yeah, I really love that you felt that same kind of soul level connection. When you and I had our conversation, you were in a cute little cafe in Mexico, and I was here in my apartment in Paris. And Spirit is so good bringing, these two women together who are passionate about both about spirituality and connection and living from the heart, but also about helping other people make money. I love it so much. I really do. And it was great to connect with you like that.
So let's start with something very, very strong. Tell us our secret for people making six-figure businesses with the thing that they love.
I love it. Okay. So for me, that's a great question. And for me, it really begins with the heart and the soul. I am someone who, look, I'm going to talk a bit of woo-woo, but naturally, I am connected spiritually. I am very intuitive. I'm also psychic. I get very clear messages from beyond. So for me, that means I want to use those gifts to help other people because not everyone is like that. Not everyone feels that. But one of the big important messages that I have received is that everyone, if they would take the time to listen to their heart, to listen to what their soul wants, it would open doorways that feel closed when we work just from the mind or just from what we think is the right thing to do. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, we tend to act from our brains, right? And
Yeah.
there's this phrase in yoga that I really love, and I try to lead my life with it. It's all about, sun poses. So when we're, like in Ashtanga yoga, there is heart opening poses that are called after the sun. So it's like heart opening. And the quote says, "Lead with your heart and let your head follow."
Yeah.
And when you're doing all these heart opening poses, your chest is open and your head always goes backwards. So your heart is leading and then your head is following. And I find
Yeah.
that to be very, very important. But we do need the two of them.
We do. And I talk about this a lot with my students. And Lenny, rather than um, I talk about it in terms of the head and the heart, but I also talk about it in terms of the masculine and the feminine. And um, for me, the masculine is the mind, logical, rational. Here's the right thing to do. 1 plus 1 equals 2, and 2 plus 2 equals 4. But when you're dealing with the feminine, 1 plus 1 doesn't always equal 2. Sometimes 1 plus 1 equals 11, or sometimes 11 is 2. And there's all this kind of woo-woo creative heart energy, which is more about how do you feel versus what do you think. And the two must work together because on its own, the feminine can be crazy. It can destroy your life. But and on its own, the masculine is so rigid, so dry, so uncreative that that can destroy your life. So you really have to work with the two. And the question you really asked was, well, how do you build a six-figure business by leading with your heart? What I do is I like to bring masculine business principles. For example, the principle of showing up on time, the principle of, if you're going to write a book, you actually have to outline the book. You can't just write anything you want and put it in any order. You actually have to have order. So, building your business in a structured way, looking at the big picture, following a roadmap, those things are all very masculine. But the feminine needs to be a part of that process. So I build a masculine container, but then we bring in the creativity, we bring in the heart, the passion, the love, and we let the feminine dance in this masculine container. And that's the basis of a six-figure business. It's your heart, your idea, your passion, plus structure, business principles. What are the first things you do? Okay, you've reached a milestone. What's the next set of things that you do? So together, it's like this it's an excellent dance. It can be sensual sometimes, but sometimes it's straight hip hop, hip hop.
I love it. And you know what? There is something that like I love what you're saying. Uh, I'm like, okay, so many things came through. And then my brain, my very logical brain is also thinking, you tend to to use a lot of crunches when you're speaking and you get excited. It happens. So using a couple more crunches for me to explain what was coming through for me. When I'm teaching people how to run retreats, and of course, it is an extension of their business, it's an addition sometimes to an already six-figure business. Sometimes it's just the business that they want to be running. I find myself very more often than not with very creative clients. And I am a creative being. Yeah. And that means that every week, let's say we have a session and then a new idea popped up. And then we want to shift our whole business structure, name, colors, everything, because we want to be creative. We want to be nurturing that creative energy. And it's very, very powerful. And I'm not telling people, go kill your creative energy because you need to follow a road. But the reality is that in order to have a growing business and sustainable business, you need to be consistent. And when you are consistent in your business, it grows. Now, that might feel like it takes a little bit away from the space of this creative energy. But I love the way you said it, Crystal. Like, it is a masculine container and there's a lot of energy, feminine energy moving inside, right? This creative flow. What I tell people in a different language is usually, okay, we're going to create something that you can rinse and repeat. And then you're going to make it better and you're going to improve it every single time. And you're going to bring your creative energy inside of it. So you are having your creative energy, but it's inside of one place, right? We have one goal in mind. We're going to get there. And we're going to find this place where it's like one road and your creativity, it's still going to exist. It's not going to disappear. We're just going to shape it and move it towards that space so you can actually get the results.
Yeah, I love that. And it's true. And I believe that, the most successful businesses allow for that. If you hired a team and everyone was just masculine or everyone was just feminine, you wouldn't get much done. Or it wouldn't feel great to be there because if it's too sometimes you can feel choked off. When there's someone like because I have one of my students, she's brand new. She came in and she says, we're working on her niche, working on her pain points. And she says, the patriarchy is the problem. The patriarchy. I want to create a coaching program that helps women overcome the patriarchy. And I said, wait a second, why? Hold on, wait just a minute. And so we did some work to kind of help her understand that and for me, I generally in my alchemy coaching certification program, I generally work with women who are very creative, right? Um, they come from professional backgrounds, but they are kind of like closet spiritualists, or they keep their spirituality on the down low while they're at work. But in their passions, you go to their homes, there are crystals everywhere. They've got, the Buddha. They're listening to, they're doing yoga. They're eating vegan, and they're really moving in that space of the feminine. But one of the things we have to understand is that the feminine can become tyrannical when she's not balanced. And again, I know I just said this, but neither one needs to be the dominant, or neither one needs to be a tyrant. You don't want to have a tyrannical mother, you don't want to have a tyrannical father. The two need to be working in harmony. Sure, sometimes you'll lead by thinking more, sometimes you'll lead by feeling more, but the universe is going to talk to you because the universe doesn't like it when things go out of balance. So it's going to, if you read the signs, it'll help you move back to help you see, okay, I'm being too much in my heart, I'm being too much in my head. I've just, I have a chest cold right now, and I've not been sitting down structuring like I need to me, that's a sign that I'm too much in the feminine. I need to stop using my feeling nature so much, and I need to move more toward discipline, making sure that maybe I'm doing a little more management in my life, managing my time, managing my money, managing my food. All of those things are are rather masculine, but they're great to help balance that feminine energy and bring things into balance. And I notice a change in myself and in my environment when I can work in that balanced way.
Mm. I love the way you like put it as an example in this space of how they both help each other, because it makes such a huge difference when you are in alignment, right? And for me, I remember I had a couple of years and I went through a big process of working with my throat chakra. I became kind of obsessed. It was most of the work I was doing. And it was because I needed it. Don't get me wrong. And then now, and you see me, all of you, and you're like, oh, but she's recording videos, she's online, she's talking. What the hell? Right? Like, why would she need to work with her throat chakra? Well, if I didn't, I would not be here today. Right? As a simple example, when I was going through this process of opening it up, I would always resist going live on Facebook. And a lot of people were like, but you need to go live every single day. That's the way, right? Like those coaches out there that tell you, like, this is the strategy and this is the only way that you can build a business, even though I call it. So I know. I'm like, no, no, no. There are different paths to the same destination. You choose which one.
That's right.
But anyway, going back a little bit to the space of like the throat chakra, I had to figure out how to balance out my feminine energy and my masculine energy and be able to communicate. And I already had taken a lot of communication programs when I was working for Merit at the corporate office. I was a geek, right? So I had an amazing boss who was like, Leni, take every certification program, coaching, training that is available. Just do it. Don't take the pre-recorded videos just to fill out your training hours. Become extraordinary. And I love her because she was just a detrimental person inside of my space because of that. Now, because I was living in the Middle East, very masculine energy. Either you went very hyper feminine or very hyper masculine. So when I moved back to Mexico, I had to figure out who I was. As simple as that. I needed to come back into this space and understand, how did I want to show up? What did I want to communicate? Right? I was living by myself and I had a bunch of friends. It was so much fun. But in a way, my family was not around. So when you come back close to your family, what happens? There's drama. We don't know how to communicate with our parents. I remember having this conversation with my mom once, and I know it's going a little bit towards a different direction, but people listening, hang on with me. It's coming somewhere. And I remember I was having this conversation with her once because after all this work to learn how to communicate, to be better, and definitely my relationship with my mom improved. So far, so good. But one day she said something, and I don't even remember what she said anymore. Yeah. But in the moment, it made me very, very upset. So this very like angry, masculine, very like, version of me, the one who took nothing behind, right? I was like, well, and I tried to be very, very nice, but a part of me was like, this is not creative. This is not in my feminine. This is not very nice, but I just need to say it. So I told her, I really do not appreciate this. This is not a way to communicate with me. Da, da, da. I went through my whole, crucial conversations training. And my mom told me, she's like, eventually, right? She was talking to me, and then She told me, you know what, Leni, the thing is, I apologize, but I want you to also understand that I was not taught how to communicate. You've taken all the trainings, you've prepared for this your whole life. It's something that's very, very important to you. And that's why you make so much effort doing it. But I lived in a house where kids were not meant to speak. And that's it. So yes, her communication skills always, she's improved a lot, I have to say, and I can tell. But it's been a journey, right? So then I had to learn this space for compassion. I'm like, oh. So many times when we are looking at our businesses, we're looking at how we create things, about how someone else's create their things, but how they communicate their messaging on their website. We compare ourselves. We compare ourselves and we tell people, and we tell ourselves that it's the worst conversation ever. Well, that person is making it, and am I not? I'm posting and no one is replying. There must be something wrong with me. I am not good enough, right? And we start having this inner conversation. And anyone who's listening here and is like, oh my gosh, no, I never have these conversations anymore. I'm like, yay, congrats.
Congratulations.
But I have two thriving businesses, actually three. And still there are days when I question myself. I have to tell you, yesterday, I was like, Leni, why did you niche down so much into retreats? Like, you love it. I know you do. It's super transformational. It's very powerful. You're great at what you do. You bring a very different perspective to the business. But I was like, I just be doing something a little bit more generic, like just building brands.
So you're still questioning yourself after all these years, like you still have space for questions, yeah?
Yes. And I think
Yeah.
it's important to always have space for questions
Hmm.
at the same time. We need to allow those questions. And then we need to go through the process. And usually for me, it's a very logical process. It can be different for other people. People can just sometimes feel it and be like, oh, no, I'm in the right space. And I do have those moments. But yesterday specifically was a moment where I had to go through a logical process of why did you choose to do this? Who are you helping? What is your mission? Like, why? Like just ask myself why. And then I was like, okay, I'm in the right place. So I was able to realign myself. But when we're thinking really from a perspective of running a business, we do need to be able to see with cold eyes the numbers of our business and if it actually makes sense, what's going on and what's happening, what's not happening. If we have goals set that we should, are we achieving those, right? We call them KPIs, key performance indicators. Are we achieving our key performance indicators for a business? This is very, very important because you want to make sure that if your boat needs saving before it drowns, you figure it out. And questioning yourself is very, very important in a place where it's not about, I'm not able to do it. It's about this space of saying, oh, maybe my perception is cloudy, right? Like with my mom. I had this perception that she was supposed to be able to communicate with me like a professional communicator. And then she put me on my spot.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I told her still it's not okay to tell me those things. Right. I still set my boundaries and said, like, please don't talk to me like that. And then she stopped. But I could recognize a different perspective. So when we're running businesses, when we're growing, how we show up, where we show up, right? Do we show up on TikTok, on LinkedIn? Do we show up on local meetups? all these pieces of your business are very, very important. You have to have this balance, and you need to always make sure that you are not looking at your business, what's the phrase, with rose colored glasses,
Yeah, sure,
because it
sure.
happens a lot.
Yeah, Lenny, it's funny because again, coming back to alchemy, it's one of the reasons why I created this program is because I live a life of alchemy. I'm constantly burning down, what doesn't work, burning away what doesn't work, and rising, bringing up something new from those ashes, right? And right now, again, going a little woo-woo, we're in a 9 year currently. Um, and this is a year for kind of endings, right? Because a new year begins. 2026 is it's a new cycle. It's a new 10-year period. So that means that now is the time to be looking at, in your personal life, what isn't working. What did you start 9 years ago that you haven't finished, right? What did you start in your business 9 years ago that is kind of done? It's time to die. It's time to let these things fall away. And for me, one of the things that I've spent the last 10 years or 9 years doing is kind of trying to create a social media presence that was meeting the standards of many, I don't know, social media marketers, right? I was trying to do all the things. And what's really interesting is that I made pretty much zero progress. My numbers on social media did not grow. I began this cycle with Facebook shutting down my account for no reason. And I'm ending this cycle with Facebook shutting down my account for no good reason. And yet and still, I've got, I'm already at $300,000 with my earnings. So why is it that, I'm making a decent income and I don't have the social media numbers that marketers keep telling me I need to have, influencers keep telling me I need to have?
Because you don't.
Well, right. But if I look at the key performance indicators for my business, and if I stay in touch with those, as you're saying, right, using those, understanding what those things are, I realize that my key performance indicators are just different than what the standards are. Again, the masculine part of me is like, what are your key performance indicators? What's going on with the rest of my industry? The feminine is saying, yes, but this feels like the right thing to do. How can we make this productive? How can we make this particular strategy actually work to fulfill the ultimate goal, which is to, make $500,000 this year? How do I get my the masculine in me to support those feminine ideas? Well, again, they have to work together because the masculine is going, the feminine's going to be like, let's just throw some money at that and let's hire all these people and do this because I want to think really big. But the masculine says, hey, actually, why don't we break this down into steps and why don't we extend the goal? So instead of trying to do, X this year, why don't we just, get halfway there? And work those two things working together creates again, that dynamic of dance, of creativity that is actually doable, where you're actually seeing that you have, your foundation is being built. So, yes, I did get thrown off of Facebook. right at the beginning of a launch, of an important launch, and yet I still did $75,000, right? So my point is that ultimately, when we're going into business, we do need strong business principles. And at the same time, we got to listen to ourselves. We got to listen to our hearts. Someone today asked me, I was talking, lovely, lovely man. He says, "So why Paris? What brought you to Paris? What took you to Paris?" And I said it was just my heart, just listening to my intuition. It said go. And even though I was uncomfortable, I went. And best decision ever.
Oh, you've been there for 3 years, right?
I have been here for 3 years. Yes. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I want to bring this back to the conversation for everyone who's listening, because you said so many very, very important things right now. Yes, of course, we do want to be measuring our KPIs, but our KPIs are what we decide them to be. It's our key performance indicators, right?
Yeah.
So we get to choose, what do we want to measure?
Yeah.
What is really, truly important for our business. And there's a big piece that in this marketing space, we call it the vanity metrics. So, for example, a lot of people will be like, well, I want to be on press releases because then I can put that I was in Forbes. Great. It has certain things behind the scenes, like backlinks to your website, so it will help you go higher on Google search. So it is good. But when you come from a space when you used to run like press releases and like public relation campaigns, you understand that the goal of a press release is impressions. How many people see you? So the reality behind the scenes is that a press release is not going to get you sales. It's very, very unlikely. It's about brand awareness. It's about putting yourself out there, putting your brand out there. And a lot of people confuse, for example, a press release with an article in a magazine. Very, very different, right? And then from articles, you have art editorial articles that's where you actually advertise your business. So when you're making decisions on your business, you might be like, well, I want to have this banner that says, I've been in Forbes. Great. Are you doing it for the right reasons, though? When we decide what we're going to be measuring inside of our business, we need to come back into this space and say, hey, is this really what I want to measure? So, for example, I'm going to simplify it for everyone who's listening in a very, very easy example. So if I'm running a retreat business, I could say, I want 100 people to come in 1 year to my retreats. Great. Awesome, right? Big goals. Not impossible, not at all. But if you were only to measure that, that does not actually mean that you have a profitable business, because those 100 people could come and then you could actually be paying them to come because of your expenses. So do you really want to measure your KPIs based on that? Or do you want to be measuring it on things that actually make a difference in your business? So when you're choosing what to measure in your business, I always like to tell people that you need to choose the things that actually move the needle towards business growth, towards making a sale. So do not get, don't get over concerned about, now I need to measure. I have to, Leni has an Excel spreadsheet that has 40 things she measures and they all have ratings. So I need to do the same. No. Start measuring certain things. Put goals, put achievable goals and break it into milestones. When I trained into project management, right? The trainings, we learned that you want to have your big goal, right? Your 5 to 10 year plan. And then you need to break it into smaller pieces. And then you need to celebrate those smaller pieces. And that's where, I think the heart energy and the creative place comes into this little dance, right? When you reach the goal, when you have the first sale of your upsell and your lead magnet through a new ads, right? I celebrate when I get $17 in my bank account as a sale.
Yes.
Because it feels great. And I'm like, ooh, more people want what I have. Yes. Right. Let's do this. So just to bring everything together, and Crystal, you said so many great things. So, there's no way we can keep everything all in one place. But I would say if you're all taking something away with you, is this space where you need to find this balance. And a great way to do it is having one container that's structured, that has a goal, and then let the feminine, the woo, the everything else flow inside, but it's contained. Because energy that is contained will take you somewhere. Imagine a big pipe, right? That has to go from one side, from the river to the ocean. If there is no pipe, then the water will spread and it will not reach its destination. Just very, very simple. Keep it simple for yourselves and for your businesses. Allow these two energies to work together. Understand that what you do in your business will not look exactly like the same like everyone else out there. I heard a podcast the other day. It was great. And it was more about launching a six-figure business with LinkedIn. It was quite interesting. But one of the things that the guest was saying, and it was just very, very powerful. She said, why you want to go copy strategies from someone who has a team of 20 people behind the scenes? You are not there. Take the business, build a structure, look forward to achieving that goal where you have 20 people in there, and if that's what you want. But you're trying to create something that people already spent years building in 6 months. And then you're going to be upset because you won't see those results. That does not mean you cannot have a six-figure business. Like we built, we're in line to actually achieve our six-figure first year of the business for our summit company. So yes, we are making.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I know. It's exciting, right? When I was looking, I was, I love to audit our stuff. So when I was looking at our numbers, I was like, yes, this is happening, right? It's so powerful. And people might be like, but it's a new company. And I'll tell you, I have over 20 years of experience in my business partner.
Of course, yeah.
So we both have our individual businesses where we spent money, hours, tears, blood, figuring out what worked for us. And then we just took the same method and moved it to a new company. So it worked. So it's not about, we actually didn't even create something completely new. Everything, the bone structure is the same.
Yeah.
And it makes it successful. But if you're starting in your journey, or you're in that moment, that crucial moment where you're like, oh, my business is okay. I do a little bit of money, but I don't make more money than I used to do in my 9 to 5. Every time I want to do something, I need to be investing, and I might need to go back to my 9 to 5 job because I spent thousands of dollars in ads and they're not working. I would invite everyone listening to this, go back to the basics, strip everything in your business. Just take it all apart and look at the bones.
Yeah. It's funny, Leni, because so for my certification program, it's got it's got this spiritual certification. So we teach people Reiki, you can learn tarot, astrology, human design. You can do all those things, okay? But then there's the business. And my goal is to help these new coaches who, they're coming into this, but they've never run a business before. They've never built a business from scratch and they've never run a business. They've worked for someone else's, in someone else's corporation, or they've managed people, they've led people, but it's a different thing when you come in and you're doing it yourself. And, you know, for me, I'm very blessed in that I was raised in an entrepreneurial family. So I had, I knew how to build a business, okay, from a very early age. But teaching, again, the masculine, for me, building business and helping women build their coaching businesses, I provide masculine step-by-step structure. You don't get to jump ahead. Oh, I'm going to go work on this thing before I do that thing, Crystal Lynn. Should I do that? The answer is no, you should not. And on one hand, it's my job to hold them to the structures of getting started, step one and then step two. It's their job to, again, bring their creativity, bring their passion, bring their ideas, right? The way that they want to help people, bringing that into the space. And what I sense from you is that you work in the same way with your students and clients. You seem very feminine, okay? But also like this is what we need to do first. If you're going to make money, because you want to make that money, you need to make that money. This is the way we have to do some things, right?
Yeah. I'm like rising Virgo and moon in Virgo, so imagine.
Oh, get out of here. So wait, so what's your sun sign?
Cancer.
So you're Cancer with a Virgo moon and a Virgo rising.
Yes.
So I'm Aquarius with an Aquarius rising and a Virgo moon. So that organized thing is really important. That structure, super important. That's how I feel safe. That's how we feel safe. When there's structure, we feel safe.
Yes, and I understand now why you also have this big piece in the woo woo. I do have the piece, like I love the woo. Don't get me wrong, but I like to separate them in a way. But my mom
Sure.
also is a double Aquarius, so I understand, and I understand why you need those structures in order to actually achieve the goals.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
Yeah, for
Aquarius,
sure.
it's air, it's creative, it's flowing, it's a beautiful sign,
Yeah.
but it
A
needs the
lot of Yeah, there's a lot of as an Aquarius, there's a lot of downloads,
Mm,
a lot of downloads.
too many.
And the Virgo moon organizes the heck out of them. Like, you give me a download, I'm going to create a form around it. I'll create a checklist. I will make sure we can come back. I'll put it on the timeline so that
Mm,
when you want to come back to it in the future, it'll be there for us. The idea will not get lost, not with this mind.
yes, I totally agree, and it is important. So I'm gonna give, and this is the last thing I'm gonna say for today's podcast episode. But for everyone who's listening, I'm gonna give you a tip that works for me. So test it, see if it works. If it works for you, amazing. If it doesn't, well, at least you tried. So, as a super creative person that has hundreds of ideas every single day, I don't know how many businesses I could have launched by now. And this is one of the reasons people come and work with me privately, because they're like, uh, I want someone who can take my ideas and put them together and just create a beautiful offer for me. So, when we're thinking about this, and I get so many ideas in my phone, I have on the notes, I have one place that it's just called ideas. And whenever I
Yeah.
have an idea, I go and I write it down. Now, if you want to categorize it and whatnot, you can, but you want to have this list because putting it in that list, it ticks an unconscious box in your life. So then you feel like you already kind of did something about it, even though if it's just writing it down. Yeah, and it helps me a lot because a lot of ideas that we have, they might be great, but it might not be the right time to go and implement them. So imagine you have a sales call scheduled in 20 minutes. And then you get this amazing idea of a website you want to build. And you have the colors and you have everything in your mind. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like the best thing ever. I need to go do it now. Are you going to stop selling because you had an idea and you need to go implement it right now? No. Well, you shouldn't. But I've seen a lot of people do it. Canceling and moving it's a way of just procrastinating and hiding, and we won't get into the
It's a
details.
big issue particularly with spiritual women,
Yeah.
not starting things and not finishing them, and it weighs on the soul. It's not good for your soul. It's not good for your mind.
Mm.
Yeah. Incompletion, not good.
Yeah, and I see it a lot with women in the spiritual transformational space because they're super passionate about what they want to do, how they want to change the world, the impact that they want to create, but they do not understand business. They do not understand how to run a business because they've never had. And they want to just be sharing their gifts with the world. And as amazing as that is, the only way for you to do that long term is to get clients, is to have a
You have
sustainable.
to have a business. You have to build and run your business and like a professional. Yes.
And that includes sales, marketing, and all those things that probably anyone who's listening and is like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do those. And that's why you hire coaches, you take the courses, you take the trainings, you take the certifications. So someone who has done it can help you. It's about skipping the line. Yeah. So this tip that I gave everyone, just if you have any a lot of ideas, if you're someone like me, you can have a notebook, you can have post-its, anything you choose. Actually, post-its no, because then you'll have them everywhere and then you'll be distracted. So a notebook, note on your phone, and put those ideas down. And then go back and decide, is this relevant? Is this important? Is this urgent? And based on that, put it on your to-do list. I remember I wanted to shift my website. I wanted to change it and I wanted to make it more beautiful than it was. And I had an idea, a big idea. It was like a whole revamp. But I had my list. I got to make decisions. And it only happened after 8 months. I had to wait 8 months to start that project. And then I got to be super, super creative with it. I had so much fun.
Yeah.
But the reality behind the scenes for everyone who's listening, I had to, hold my own horses for the sake of the growth of my business.
That's right. That's a discipline.
Mm.
It is. It's a discipline and it can feel challenging in that moment. We have a lot of fear around losing the idea. Well, what if I lose my momentum? Well, maybe you didn't have the momentum to see it through till the end anyway. So schedule it. And not all ideas are equal. So sitting with ideas and allowing them to gel, putting it in the future, yes, absolutely. That'll give you a chance to let it blossom, like plant the seed now and get the flower later.
I love this. Well, Crystalline, I know you have a gift for everyone who's listening. What is it?
Okay, so my gift it's an ebook that I've written, and it's called Is Alchemy Coaching Your Path to Purpose and Six-Figure Income? And it really takes the reader through my alchemy coaching process, and it talks about some of the pitfalls that go along with starting your own coaching business. And it goes a little bit more into this whole thing of the masculine and the feminine, how to bring your creativity, how to follow your heart, and how to get things done.
I love it.
How to structure your business so that you're able to actually have a business that feels soulful and is also based on six-figure principles.
Mm. I love it. Well, for everyone who wants this, you can grab the link on the show notes. So
Yeah.
just go click it, get your ebook, and get to connect with Crystal. Crystal, thank you so much for being here. This was amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lenny. It was a real pleasure. Real pleasure.
Well, thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.